Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're continuing our listen through to, you guessed it, Band-MAIKO. Of course you know, you clicked on the link. You know what this is. So anyway, we're going to be listening now. This one I'm really excited to. This is the last song we're actually going to be listening to because I've already heard Gyoncho, the last song on this album. Now there's a link in the description where you can check out the track by track, the entire track by track review. So after this one, obviously then the next video in line will be me reviewing the Gyoncho music video, which we did before I got my hands on the album, and then there'll be my final thoughts on the album, my conclusion video after that. So this is the last one that I'm recording, which is actually a song that I'm listening to, and then you can listen to the previous one. I've already said that, I'm going around in circles, but I'm really excited in this because this is Screaming. Now, Screaming, beautifully written here, just for those of you who know Japanese and will know how at least the language works, it's written in hiragana, not katakana or English, it's written in hiragana just to give it a Band-MAIKO feel. To quickly recap, I'll say this quickly because if you've been following this, you already know, and I don't want to bore you all to death, but basically this album so far, it's a mixture of two things I really love: that heavy sound, that Band-Maid sound that they do so well, and those traditional Japanese instruments, which I love and I do believe go really well with rock. And I've said before that comparison with Wagaki Band, who I think do a fantastic job of mixing it. In this particular instance, I know it was a bit of an experiment, it was a bit of a playful game that they decided to do. So I'm not holding them to such a high standard on this as I would do on their normal material, or I would when Wagaki Band do this sort of thing, which they do all the time. But in this particular example, I do think that they've done a really good job of mixing the two sounds together. I do, however, feel that in places it could have been done better. The last track we listened to, however, which I really struggled to say the name of it, I don't know why, Akasimahen. That was really well done because it felt like they kind of took away a lot of the Band-Maid elements were kind of gone, and the Japanese music was moved to the front. So you really kind of heard like a real mashup of the two, which I think is what you've got to do when you're doing an EP like this. You've got to go full in for it, especially when you're paying homage to your songs that you already have released copies of already. As I've said over and over and over during this review, making this more different, really changing your sound for this EP doesn't erase the original. People know that you're doing it as an April Fool's joke, where this originally sort of sourced from what I believe. So just go with it. And so anyway, yeah, I'm really hoping that we have a real good element on this, because Screaming I covered before. I know it's a B-side, isn't it? It's not even an album track, but it's a really popular one, and I think it was great because it was so playful and had so many different sounds. Now obviously we also had a cover of a reimagining, shall we say, of One and Only on this, which was another song that's really playful, has a lot of things in it, but I found that there was so much in the original and they didn't really take too much out when they came to do the Band-MAIKO version, so it sounded really crammed in. So I'm hoping that in Screaming, certain elements of the original are taken out and replaced by the Japanese elements, that there's more of a reworking of it here rather than trying to shoehorn too much into a small space. But this is a really fantastic song, so however it goes I'm going to enjoy it, I'm sure, but I really hope they make the most of this combination of a brilliant song and a really great experimental idea. So here we go, we're going to jump in with Screaming, which of course is written in hiragana,すくりーみんぐ. Here we go. I like how they turn the guitar down so you can hear the shamisen alongside it. That shakuhachi, the flute sound, fits in really nicely there, thickens up the chorus, and they're using the shamisen sound really for the nice quick detail bits. Okay, they haven't changed much from the original, but it's sitting well, and the levels are nicely mixed in this.
けどそれもう一遍もう一遍カンニンゲはよ上がりやかなな使ってへと過去も未来に変え
That's beautiful.
お頼もしますブレイクレイカニここも閉ざせはしきお心放ってうちはどこにおります来ないとか隠しはしきこれがうちだ誰にも支配させへん水場もあらへんなんて泣くことをへんほいないもんだ消えへん痛みもどない言葉でももう恥ずかしゅない全て壊して
I love the bouncing stereo sound. It's building up great.
変にゃばこに隠られてはここ来て読み止めやすあんなにしんなり心示せ固まり合ってみせへんと横目で見張るやつらはやっかりここも閉ざせはしきお心放ってうちはどこにおりますほないこか
Again, the shakuhachi's a really good choice in the chorus. It's filling out the sound, thickening it up a lot.
誰の支配もかりここも閉ざせはしきお座敷で待つこれがうちだぜ上だってわからへんダンさんが待ってはる信じてたらしいお座敷始まる
Alright. Yeah, well, first things first, that was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And I did think that worked. Obviously, I have to give an objective, subjective opinion. I have to try and cover, every standpoint I can. From my own taste, I loved that. It brought out a lot of the things I loved most about the original as well. Glad the cheeky little riff was in there, that really cool riff at the beginning. That comes up again. But there was just a lot of things that were really good about that. And it didn't detract from the original song. I did feel like they did play it a little bit straight. They could have gone a more experiment on this. I was kind of wondering, with that riff being such a distinctive riff, I was wondering if they were just going to pull the guitar out altogether. Well, this is perhaps what I would have suggested, and I think a lot of Band-Maid fans probably would be angry about me suggesting taking out the lead guitar in this, but I would have taken out that lead guitar and had that lead guitar line just played on a koto or a shamisen, probably a koto. I think that would sound brilliant just on a koto. If you can imagine that lead intro riff line just played on a koto, that would be magical. And that's the kind of thing what I mean when I say, going full on, going full for it. I know they have to try not to alienate their core fan base, and they don't, they want to keep the sort of rock sound. I'm sure the record company want to keep them within certain lines of, the executive producers would probably say, this is a little bit too far afield, stay as who you are to a certain degree. But, like I said, I'm nitpicking there. Basically, this works really well. I know that in some of the previous songs in this, they had a little bit of trouble. I think the shakuhachi, the Japanese flute, was the instrument they had the most trouble integrating some of their songs from the previous versions. This one, it was used well, because it's a very thick sound. It's hard sometimes to use it in kinetic music, because it has quite a, like I say, a thick drawn out sound. Unless you have like a professional doing a solo on it, like you can get in stuff like Wagaki Band, then it's kind of hard to put it in. So the best place really for it is thickening up something like a chorus where there's slower chord progressions, and the speed is mainly coming from the lyrics and the drums, but the actual music is just sort of like a chord, like a 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. The chord's nice slow, so you can hold out your flute notes over the top of that and thicken up the sound, which is what they did here. It's not really so much for riffing a shakuhachi or that kind of flute sound, but then the riffy stuff, that's where they had the shamisen come in here, and they did a brilliant job on the breakdown where they really went in with the shamisen and the koto sort of sounds, those more plucky, plingy sounds, and they took advantage of the fact they're using a sort of a synth keyboard method for writing those sounds into the tunes by having this great bounce between the left and right and the stereo headphones. So, like I say, This one I really like. This is probably one of my favourites on here. Like I said, I'm going to do a video after this where I'm going to give my conclusion, my final thoughts on the album, sort of more conclusive rounding up of everything. But this one definitely works. And I think it's a really good complementary version to the original. Is it better? No, but I think it stands equally alongside it. I think you could listen to both in a different mood, and that's really as much as you can ask. Do I think they could have gone more experimental and maybe sort of played with it more? Yes, but I do accept there are certain limitations, and I do know I know there's a lot of really great Band-Maid fans who get on here and talk about all kinds of stuff, but I know Band-Maid are one of those bands who also have some fans who do shoehorn them a little bit with the do rock or else sort of thing that sometimes core fans can do. I never understood someone who's a fan of a band but then insists that the band always does the same thing. So I'm glad that Band-Maid, you know, they still have the freedom to do crazy things like this. But like I said, if you're going to do an EP like this, go for it 100%. You know, go 100% in. At points in this, I haven't felt like they have, but this is one of the examples where, although they haven't gone 100% in on full experimental, they haven't totally sort of Japanified it with traditional Japanese instruments, taking more of the places of the band's sound. I do still think that this was a good example of them doing it right. You know, they turned down the guitars and things to give room for the experimentation to breathe, so that the sounds that they were implementing weren't crushed by the sounds that were already there. So anyway, this is really fantastic. I really enjoyed this album. I've got a lot to say about it though, so feel free, like I say, if you go into the playlist, the next one will be Gyeoncho, which is a song that I'd already reviewed previously, so you'll see my slightly less informed opinions on that, but it'll be really interesting to see that in context now. And then if you follow the playlist, it'll go straight on to me giving my conclusion at the end, or you can just click to see that right now if you want, because it will be on the channel page. It'll be easy to find that on YouTube. So, on my YouTube at least. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure sharing this with you, and I'll give my conclusions, my final thoughts in the next video. So, ciao ciao.